Hi, this is Alexis Brooks. Thank you for joining me today. I thought I'd spend a few minutes discussing a section from my best-selling book, Conscious Musings, Contemplations to Transform Life and Realize Potential, and talk a little bit about the history of the human psyche. When you look at the human psyche from a historical perspective and its trajectory, and you realize that it has been largely a path that's been laden with misunderstanding and delusion and confined ideologies of the world and of the self, one would think that there's no hope for mankind to transcend his limits and become anything more than the fractional being that so many have so readily accepted. When you simply look around you and you see evidence of an increasingly unaware society, unaware of the power inherent within all of us, it's impossible not to acknowledge the state of affairs with absolute concern. Well, we've got to be honest, many of us aren't looking at all. Instead, we are busy consuming reality as it's conveyed to us with no questions asked. In this 21st century, we have to acknowledge the fact that so many have relied on this consensus picture that is beamed daily from our ever-expanding TV screens and ever-shrinking devices. Not all of us, but still far too many, are oblivious to a world outside of these frame-by-frame images, and as a result, they will resist untethering themselves from the convenience of a projected reality in order to explore outside of the electrical matrix. And as a result, the human psyche has become unquestioning and complacent. So my question is, how did this happen? How did we get here? And most importantly, is there any prospect of reversing that trajectory, hitting the reset button, and starting with a fresh new perspective, this time with full awareness of who we once were and still are, powerful, creative, intuitive, and limitless beings? I think so. I think there is a possibility to shift that paradigm. But in order to ignite this next phase in our growth and development, it's absolutely necessary, I think, to deconstruct our immediate past and present. Take a good, long, objective look at ourselves, this time without the lenses of consensus and beliefs. Let's shake our head in acknowledgement and recognition and compassion, and then we can remember who we really are. This first section of Conscious Musings, which is dedicated to exploring who we really are, does so by first examining who we've readily assumed ourselves to be, often building our entire worldview, including our scale of personal potential, by beliefs that have been thrust upon us through the official narrative that has been given to us by our well-meaning parents, teachers, and others that we consider authoritative in our lives. In this section, which is called The Individual, the Collective, and Social Consciousness, we'll peek behind the iron curtain of the human psyche and break down some fundamental aspects of thinking patterns that have kept so many on what I'm going to call a consensus reality lockdown. But the goal is not to keep pounding that point home. The goal is to acknowledge these limiting patterns in order to move past them, to look from an angle of unbiased introspection, and then have a solid recognition that most of what we've been taught and how we live, and most importantly, who and what we think we are, is based on a teaching that is merely a fraction of the power and potential of what and who we really are. So I hope you'll join me on this journey of self-discovery, pick up a copy of Conscious Musings, and take one giant step closer to realizing your potential and put the power back in your hands. Thank you.